The miracle that comes after the sea. Arianna's story. When Arianna was trapped between debt and humiliation, she thought there was no way out. But God doesn't need open doors. He creates paths where none exist. She was sitting at the kitchen table at 3 a.m, surrounded by bills, red envelopes everywhere, final notices, threats of legal action, court summons. Her hands trembled as she tried to do the math one more time, hoping that somehow, miraculously, the numbers would be different this time. They weren't. No matter how she calculated it, no matter how she rearranged the priorities, no matter what she cut, the numbers didn't add up. She was $32,000 in debt. Her salary, when it came, barely covered half of the minimum payments. The house was 3 months behind on mortgage. The car was about to be repossessed. The credit cards were maxed out and in collections. She was drowning, and there was no life raft in sight. Arianna looked at her phone. 17 missed calls, all from collection agencies. She had stopped answering weeks ago. What was the point? She couldn't pay. Hearing them threaten her, humiliate her, treat her like a criminal wouldn't change that fact. She put her head in her hands and felt the weight of it all crushing her. This wasn't supposed to be her life. She had done everything right, worked hard, paid her bills on time, been responsible. But one medical emergency, one job loss, one series of unfortunate events, and here she was, buried alive in debt with no way out. God, she whispered into the silence of the kitchen. I'm trapped. There's no way out. I can't see a way forward. I can't see a path. There's nothing but walls on every side. Silence. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. But heaven seemed closed. But what Arianna didn't know, what she couldn't see in that dark kitchen at 3 a.m, was that God specializes in impossible situations. He doesn't need open doors. He doesn't need clear paths. He doesn't need logical solutions. He creates ways where there are none. He parts seas that seem impassable. He makes roads through waters that should drown you. Because the God who led the Israelites through the Red Sea is the same God who was about to lead Arianna through her own impossible situation. 6 months earlier, Arianna's life had been completely different. Not perfect, but manageable. She worked as a nurse at a community hospital. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady. She lived in a small 2-bedroom house that she had bought 3 years ago. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. She had a car that ran, bills that got paid. A life that, while not luxurious, was stable. She wasn't rich, but she was okay, and okay felt like enough. Arianna had grown up poor. Really poor, the kind of poor where you wear the same clothes to school every day and hope nobody notices. The kind of poor where dinner is whatever you can scrape together. The kind of poor where the electricity gets shut off and you do homework by candlelight. She had sworn to herself that she would never be that poor again. She had worked 2 jobs to put herself through nursing school. She had saved every penny. She had been careful, responsible, disciplined, and it had worked. She had built a life, a modest life, but a life that was hers. A life where she didn't have to worry about where the next meal was coming from. A life where she could pay her bills and sleep at night until everything fell apart. It started with her mother, a phone call in the middle of the night. The kind of call that makes your heart stop before you even answer. Arianna, it's your mom. She's had a stroke. You need to come to the hospital. Arianna had driven through the night, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. Please, God, please, not my mom, not now. Her mother survived, but barely. The stroke left her paralyzed on one side, unable to speak clearly, unable to care for herself. She needed round-the-clock care. She needed rehabilitation. She needed medications. She needed equipment, and she had no insurance. Arianna didn't hesitate. This was her mother, the woman who had raised her alone, the woman who had worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over their heads, the woman who had sacrificed everything so Arianna could have a chance at a better life. There was no question. Arianna would take care of her. She moved her mother into her house, converted the spare bedroom into a care room, hired a part-time aide for the hours she had to work, bought the medications, paid for the physical therapy, covered everything. The bills started piling up immediately. $5,000 for the hospital stay, $3,000 for the ambulance, $2,000 for the initial medications, $1,500 a month for the aid, $800 a month for ongoing medications, $600 for medical equipment. Arianna put it all on credit cards. What choice did she have? This was her mother. You don't let your mother suffer because of money. She told herself it would be temporary. She would figure it out. She would work extra shifts. She would cut back on everything else. She would make it work. But then she got sick herself. It started as a persistent cough, then fatigue, then fever. She ignored it, kept working, kept pushing through. She didn't have time to be sick. She had her mother to take care of, bills to pay, responsibilities, until she collapsed at work. Pneumonia, severe. She was hospitalized for a week, couldn't work for a month after that. No work meant no paycheck. No paycheck meant no money for the mortgage, no money for the car payment, no money for anything. She had some savings, 3 months worth. She burned through it in 6 weeks. When she finally went back to work, she was already 2 months behind on everything. The late fees had started. The interest was compounding. The collection calls had begun. She tried to catch up, worked double shifts, picked up every extra hour she could, but it was like trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon. For every dollar she paid, 2 more appeared in fees and interest. The credit card companies started closing her accounts. Her credit score plummeted. The mortgage company sent a notice of default. The car loan company sent a repossession warning. She was drowning, and no matter how hard she swam, the water kept rising. Arianna started avoiding people. She stopped going to church because she couldn't face the questions. How are you doing? She couldn't say fine when it was a lie. And she couldn't tell the truth because the shame was too heavy. She stopped answering calls from friends, stopped responding to texts, isolated herself in her house with her mother and her mountains of debt. At night, she lay awake doing math. If I pay this, I can't pay that. If I pay the mortgage, I can't pay the car. If I pay the car, I can't pay the credit cards. If I pay the credit cards, I can't buy food. There was no combination that worked. No matter how she arranged it, she was short, always short. The collection calls became relentless. They called at 7 in the morning. They called at 9 at night. They called on weekends. They called on holidays. Ma'am, you need to pay this debt, I know. I'm trying. Trying isn't good enough. We need payment today. I don't have it today. Then we'll have to proceed with legal action. She started having panic attacks. Her heart would race, her chest would tighten. She couldn't breathe. The walls would close in. She would sit on the bathroom floor, gasping for air, feeling like she was dying. Her mother, from her wheelchair, would call out weakly, "Arianna, are you okay?" And Arianna would force herself to stand up, wash her face, and lie. "I'm fine, Mom. Everything's fine." But nothing was fine. Nothing was even close to fine. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. Arianna came home from a 12-hour shift, exhausted to her bones. She pulled into the driveway and saw it. A notice on her front door. Notice of foreclosure. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. She stood there, staring at that paper, and felt something inside her break. Not crack, not bend, break, completely shatter. She was going to lose her house. The house she had worked so hard to buy. The house that represented everything she had built. The house that was supposed to prove she had made it out of poverty. She walked inside. Her mother was asleep in her wheelchair by the window. Arianna sat down at the kitchen table and stared at nothing. "God, where are you? I've prayed, I've begged, I've cried out to you, and you've been silent. I'm about to lose everything, my house, my car, my dignity. Where are you? The silence was deafening. That night, Arianna couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all crushing her. She thought about her mother. What would happen to her? Where would they go? How would she take care of her? She thought about her childhood, about being poor, about the shame of it, about swearing she would never go back to that, and here she was, about to lose everything, about to be right back where she started. She got up and went to the kitchen, opened her laptop, started searching, bankruptcy, how to file, what it meant, what she would lose. She read the information with tears streaming down her face. It felt like failure, like giving up, like admitting defeat. But what choice did she have? She was trapped, completely trapped. There was no way out, no path forward, just walls on every side. She closed the laptop, put her head down on the table, and cried like she hadn't cried since she was a child, cried from exhaustion, from fear, from hopelessness. God, I can't do this anymore. I can't carry this. I can't see a way out. If you don't make a way, I'm going to drown. The next morning, Arianna woke up with swollen eyes and a pounding headache. She had slept maybe 2 hours. She got up, checked on her mother, and went through the motions of getting ready for work. She didn't want to go. She wanted to crawl back into bed and never come out. But she couldn't afford not to work. Even though the money wasn't enough, it was something. At work, she moved like a zombie. Taking vitals, administering medications, checking charts, all on autopilot. Her mind was somewhere else, trapped in that kitchen, surrounded by bills, drowning in debt. During her lunch break, she sat in her car and just stared out the window. She felt numb, empty, like she had cried out every emotion and there was nothing left. Her phone buzzed, another collection call. She let it go to voicemail, then another, and another. She turned off her phone. When she got home that evening, there was another notice on her door, this time from the car loan company. Final notice before repossession. She crumpled the paper in her hand and walked inside. Her mother was awake, watching TV. She looked at Arianna with concern. "Baby, what's wrong?" Arianna forced a smile. "Nothing, Mom, just tired." But her mother knew. Mothers always know. "Arianna, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. If I hadn't gotten sick, you wouldn't be in this mess." Arianna knelt beside her mother's wheelchair and took her hand. "Don't you dare say that. You're my mother. Taking care of you isn't a burden, it's a privilege. But the bills... We'll figure it out, Mom. Somehow we'll figure it out." But even as she said the words, she didn't believe them. Because she had no idea how they would figure it out. She couldn't see a way, couldn't see a path, couldn't see anything but walls. That night, Arianna did something she hadn't done in weeks. She opened her Bible. She didn't know what she was looking for, comfort maybe, hope, anything. She flipped through the pages randomly and landed on Exodus 14, the story of the Red Sea. She had heard it 1,000 times in Sunday school, in sermons, in songs, but she had never read it like this, never read it as someone who was trapped, someone who had walls on every side, someone who couldn't see a way out. She began to read. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Arianna stopped, read it again. The Israelites were trapped. The Egyptian army was behind them. The Red Sea was in front of them, mountains on both sides. There was no way out, no escape, no path. They were completely, utterly trapped. Just like her. She kept reading. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. Arianna felt that terror, that feeling of being pursued, of having no escape, of walls closing in. The Israelites said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." She understood that despair. That feeling of it would have been better if I had never tried. Better if I had never hoped. Better if I had just accepted poverty and never reached for more. But then Moses answered. Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Arianna felt something stir inside her, something small, something fragile, but something. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm. The Lord will fight for you." She kept reading. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. Arianna closed the Bible and sat in silence. The Israelites had been trapped, completely trapped. No way out, no escape, no path. And God had made a way. Not by removing the sea, not by removing the Egyptians, not by removing the mountains. He made a way through the impossible, through the trap, through the walls. He didn't need an open door. He created a path where there was none. Arianna felt tears running down her face, but these were different tears. Not tears of despair, tears of something else, something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. "God," she whispered, "I'm trapped, just like the Israelites. I have debt behind me, foreclosure in front of me, walls on every side. I can't see a way out, but you don't need me to see it. You just need me to trust you. So I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to be still, and I'm going to trust that you will make a way." She didn't feel better immediately. The bills were still there. The foreclosure notice was still on her door. The collection calls would still come tomorrow. But something had shifted. Something inside her. A tiny seed of faith that maybe, just maybe, God could make a way where there seemed to be none. The next day, Arianna went to work with a different mindset. Not hopeful exactly, but not hopeless either, somewhere in between. She had decided to do what Moses said, stand firm, be still, let God fight. During her lunch break, instead of sitting in her car in despair, she prayed, "God, I don't know how you're going to do this, but I'm trusting that you will. Make a way where there is no way." When she got home that evening, there was a message on her answering machine. She almost didn't listen to it. She was so used to collection calls and threats, but something made her press play. "Hello, this message is for Arianna Mitchell. This is Sarah Chen from the Community Foundation. We received your mother's medical records from her hospital stay, and we wanted to let you know that she qualifies for our Emergency Medical Assistance Program. This program covers up to $50,000 in medical expenses for low-income patients. Please call us back to discuss the details." Arianna stood frozen, staring at the answering machine. $50,000. That would cover almost all of her mother's medical bills, the bills that had started this entire nightmare. Her hands shook as she called back. It had to be a mistake. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. But it wasn't a mistake. Sarah Chen explained that the program was funded by a private donor who wanted to help families in medical crisis. Arianna's mother qualified. They would pay the hospital bills, the ambulance bill, and reimburse Arianna for the medications she had already purchased. When Arianna hung up the phone, she sat down on the floor and cried. Not from despair this time, from relief, from gratitude, from the overwhelming realization that God had heard her. This wasn't the whole sea parting, but it was the wind starting to blow. It was the first sign that God was making a way. Over the next week, more small miracles happened. Arianna received a call from her hospital. They were offering a hardship program that would reduce her own medical bills by 70%. She received a letter from her mortgage company. They were offering a loan modification program that would lower her payments and add the missed payments to the end of the loan. One by one, walls started moving, not disappearing, but moving, creating space, creating a path. Arianna started making calls to the credit card companies, to the car loan company, to everyone she owed money to. And instead of hiding, instead of avoiding, she told the truth. I'm in trouble. I got in over my head, taking care of my sick mother, but I want to pay you back. Can we work out a payment plan? And surprisingly, most of them said yes. They reduced the interest. They waived the late fees. They set up manageable payment plans. It wasn't instant. It wasn't easy. But slowly, gradually, a path began to emerge. A way through the impossible situation. 3 months after that night, reading about the Red Sea, Arianna was still in debt, but it was manageable debt. She had a plan. She could see the path forward. The walls were still there, but there was a road through them. She was making her mortgage payments. Her car hadn't been repossessed. Her mother was getting the care she needed. They weren't going to lose the house. God hadn't removed the sea, but he had made a way through it. 6 months later, Arianna stood in her church and shared her testimony. She told the story of being trapped, of the bills, of the foreclosure notice, of the despair, and then she told them about the Red Sea, about how God doesn't need open doors, about how he makes ways where there are none. When I was trapped, she said, her voice strong and clear, I thought there was no way out. I could only see walls. But God saw a path. He didn't remove my problems. He walked through them with me. He made a way where there was no way. The church was silent. People were crying because everyone there knew what it felt like to be trapped, to have walls on every side, to see no way out. And Arianna's story gave them hope. Hope that God could make a way for them too. After the service, dozens of people came up to her. Thank you for sharing. I needed to hear that. I'm trapped too. But now I have hope. And Arianna realized something profound. Her struggle hadn't been wasted. Her pain had purpose. God had walked her through the sea so she could tell others that there's a way through. 1 year after that night at the kitchen table, surrounded by bills, Arianna was debt-free. Not because she won the lottery, not because someone gave her money, but because she had worked the plan, paid off the debts one by one, lived frugally, trusted God. Her mother's health had improved. She could speak again, could move her arm, could smile. The physical therapy had worked. The medications had worked. She still needed care, but she was so much better. Arianna had started a support group at her church for people struggling with debt. She called it Red Sea Recovery. Every week, people came and shared their stories, their struggles, their fears. And every week, Arianna reminded them, God doesn't need open doors. He makes ways where there are none. You might be trapped today, but God is already preparing your path through. She taught them practical things. How to budget, how to negotiate with creditors, how to create a debt payoff plan. But more than that, she taught them faith. Faith that God sees them. Faith that God hears them. Faith that God will make a way. 2 years after that dark night, Arianna bought a journal. She wanted to write down everything that had happened, not to forget, not to take credit, but to remember, to have a record of God's faithfulness. She wrote about the bills, the foreclosure notice, the panic attacks, the despair. And then she wrote about the miracles, the medical assistance program, the loan modification, the payment plans, the way through. On the last page, she wrote this: When I was trapped, I thought I needed God to remove the obstacles, to make the debt disappear, to open a door. But that's not what he did. He didn't remove the Red Sea. He made a way through it. He didn't take away the walls. He created a path between them. He didn't give me an easy way out. He gave me the strength to walk through. And that was better, because now I know that no matter what I face, no matter how trapped I feel, God can make a way. He doesn't need open doors. He creates paths where none exist, and He will never leave me to drown. He will always make a way through. She closed the journal and looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful, peaceful, hopeful, just like her life now. Not perfect, not without challenges, but no longer trapped. No longer drowning, no longer without hope, because she had learned the most important lesson of her life. God doesn't always remove the obstacles, but He always makes a way through them. And sometimes the way through is better than the way around, because it's in the walking through that we learn to truly trust. It's in the impossible situations that we see God's power most clearly. It's in the Red Sea moments that we discover God doesn't need open doors. He creates paths where none exist. And He will do it again and again and again for anyone who trusts Him, for anyone who stands firm, for anyone who believes that the God who parted the Red Sea can part their sea too. 3 years later, Arianna received a letter. It was from a woman named Jennifer who had attended her Red Sea recovery group 2 years ago. Jennifer had been drowning in debt after a divorce. She had felt trapped, hopeless, but she had come to the group and heard Arianna's story. The letter said, "Dear Arianna, I wanted you to know that I'm debt-free today. It took 2 years of hard work, sacrifice, and faith, but I made it through, and it's because of you, because you shared your story, because you showed me that God makes ways where there are none. When I wanted to give up, I remembered what you said, stand firm, be still, let God fight, and He did. He made a way for me, just like He made a way for you. Thank you for not keeping your miracle to yourself. Thank you for showing me that God still parts seas. Love, Jennifer." Arianna read the letter with tears streaming down her face. This was why she had gone through it all, so she could help others find their way through. God hadn't wasted her pain. He had transformed it into purpose. Her Red Sea had become someone else's hope. Her impossible situation had become someone else's testimony. Her miracle had multiplied. And she realized that's how God works. He doesn't just make a way for one person. He makes a way that others can follow. He doesn't just part one sea. He shows everyone watching that He can part theirs too. That Sunday, Arianna stood in church again. This time, she wasn't sharing her testimony. She was simply worshiping, singing, thanking God. The song was about the Red Sea, about God making ways, about impossible situations becoming testimonies. And as she sang, she looked around the room at all the people singing with her. And she wondered how many of them were trapped right now, how many were drowning in debt, how many couldn't see a way out. She prayed for them, prayed that they would remember the Red Sea, prayed that they would stand firm, prayed that they would trust God to make a way, because she knew something they might not know yet. God doesn't need open doors. He creates paths where none exist. And no matter how trapped you feel, no matter how high the walls, no matter how deep the water, God can make a way through. He did it for the Israelites. He did it for Arianna, and He will do it for you. All you have to do is stand firm, be still, and trust that the God who parts seas is already working on yours. The miracle doesn't always come before the sea. Sometimes it comes after, sometimes it comes through, but it always comes, because God is faithful, God is powerful, and God makes ways where there are none, always.